May the words and thoughts always be acceptable and guided by Thee, O blessed Creator of the universe. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good, nor talk too wise. The concluding line goes thus: Yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. These lines are taken from the poem If by Brother Rudyard Kipling. In the year 1885, Kipling was initiated into Freemasonry, receiving special dispensation to join at the age of 20 and a half. He joined the Hope and Perseverance Lodge number 72 in Lahore. He later wrote of his Masonic experience thus: I was entered by a member of the Brahmo Samaj, a Hindu, passed by a Mohammedan, and raised by an Englishman. Our tailor was an Indian Jew. We met, of course, on the level, thus influencing him to pen a few poems based on Masonic virtues. The website Web of Hiram, created by the renowned Masonic scholar Dr. Robert Lomas, expounds the lectures of the craft of Masonry. The third degree lecture commences as follows: Brethren, every degree of Masonry is progressive and cannot be attained but by time, patience, and assiduity. In the first degree, we are taught the duties we owe to God, to our neighbor, and to ourselves. In the second degree, we are admitted to participate in the mysteries of human race and to trace the goodness and majesty of the Creator by minutely analyzing His works. But the third degree is the cement of the whole. It is calculated to bind men by mystic points of fellowship, as in a bond of fraternal affection and brotherly love. Freemasonry gave us the opportunity to meet men whom we never might have had a chance to meet during our lifetime. We get to know our brethren by their souls, minds, and hearts, not by their looks or riches. If we had met these men on the streets before joining the Brotherhood, we definitely would never recognize them. But certain virtues and qualities that distinguish them from others would surely make a lasting impression about them. Of course, these various virtues and qualities that are distinguishing characteristics of Freemason. Of course, of these various virtues and qualities that are the distinguishing characteristics of a Freemason, I would today like to discuss before you the two differentiating ones: patience and industry. The two words patience and industry are heard by a Freemason when the lodge is in total darkness. Inside the temple, where the first two degrees taught him about the faith in the Almighty God, brotherhood of man, and the other excellent virtues which characterized a Freemason, he is slowly let into the dimensions of hatred and violence, that too by experienced craftsmen who are powerfully involved in the construction of the Holy Temple. The impatience and hastiness of these fellow crafts caused so much of damage that even the wisdom of a monarch like King Solomon could not restore it. Phoenicia was an ancient civilization composed of independent city-states located along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, stretching through what is now Syria, Lebanon, and northern Israel. The city of Tyre and the city of Sidon in modern-day Lebanon were the most powerful states in Phoenicia, with Gebal or Byblos and Baalbek as the most important spiritual and religious centers. Ancient literary and inspirational records of Israel, Egypt, Assyria, and Assyria and Greece document that Phoenician craftsmen were renowned for their skill in working ivory, metal, stones, and wood, as well as weaving and dyeing fine fabrics. The name Byblos in the first millennium BC appeared in Phoenician and Punic inscriptions as Gebel. In Hebrew Bible, it is mentioned as Gevel, and in the present day Arabic as Jebel. The name seems to be derived from Gb, meaning well, and El denoting God, the latter a word that could variously refer to any of the Canaanite gods or to their leader in particular. Thus, the name thus seems to have meant the well of God or source of God. Freemason and author Albert Gallatin Mackay says that Giblum is a significant word in Freemasonry and translates Giblum or Giblamites as Masons. In his book Encyclopedia of Freemasonry and its Kindred Sciences, Mackay writes thus: it is the plural of the noun Gibli, the G pronounced hard and means, according to the idiom in Hebrew, Giblites or inhabitant of the city of Gebal. The Giblim or Giblites are mentioned in the scriptures as assisting Solomon's and Hiram's builders to prepare the trees and the stones for building the temple. And from this passage, it is evident that they were clever artificers. Mackay concludes that the Giblim were master masons who put the finishing hand to King Solomon's temple. Giblim were expert operative masons, the name meaning stone squarers who understood the science of geometrical proportion in its practical applications and were cemented in their lodge by the morality of its detached and component parts. The scripture mentions as follows: and Solomon's builders and Hiram's builders did hew them, and the stone squarers. So they prepared timber and stones to build the house. Where the word translated in authorized version for the stone squarers is the original Giblim. The three ruffians, first mentioned in Samuel Pritchard's Masonry Dissected, were not named. It was not until the book Three Distinct Knocks that they were named Jubala, Jubalo, and Jubalam. The three names were originally one name for a fellow craft, a leader in the conspiracy against Hiram Abiff, and the names were corrupted names of the Giblamites. It is suggested that later writers gave them the A, the O, and to prove their conspiracy point. Thus, we see the Giblamites were part of the final touches needed for the completion of the temple, and the above named three designated as ruffians in the ritual. They grew impatient as the temple neared completion. The secrets which entitled them to a place of honor and glory seemed quite distant. Thus, they, in their impatience and hastiness, destroyed the very purpose of which King Solomon's temple was built for, a symbol for peace and harmony, which was shattered by the tree. For a Freemason, the ritual practiced and perfected is a path for betterment. He is polished and perfected every moment he spends his life in this world by the teachings of our fraternity. The sublime degree very clearly underlines the need for patience and diligence for a peaceful and successful existence in this world. Through the dramatic art, it portrays the result of hastiness and dishonesty. Patience is the personal trait that will cause a leader to bear fruit. It is the good-natured tolerance of aspirations and ambitions. A patient person's quality is to wait and hope without anxiety or apprehension. A poem I came across on the web describes patience thus: patience is life's essence. In every step of our life, it has its prominence. Patience is a virtue everybody must possess. Without patience, life can be a zero and useless. Patience always means do something or many things. Wait and expect for the result and think positive. Patience does not mean do nothing. Only wait and wait to expect a magic with result very positive. Patience is the key to success. Good things come to people who wait. Patience is a virtue. Be patient, you will get the best of what you desire. Learn to be patient. The world will open up to you. Be patient, your patience will be rewarded too. The parable of the Chinese bamboo tree teaches us lessons about patience, faith, perseverance, growth, and development, and importantly, human potential. Like any plant to flourish, the Chinese bamboo tree requires nurturing, water, fertile soil, and sunshine. In the first year, there are no visible signs of activity or development. The second year, again, no growth above the soil. And the third and fourth, still no signs. Patience is tested, and we begin to wonder if our efforts will ever be rewarded. Finally, in the fifth year, voila, there is growth. And what growth it is! The Chinese bamboo tree grows 80 feet, almost 30 meters, in just 6 weeks. So the question is, does the Chinese bamboo tree really grow 80 feet in 6 weeks? Did it lie dormant for 4 years only to grow exponentially in the fifth? Or was the little tree growing underground, developing a root system and a stable base strong enough to support its potential for outward growth in the fifth year and beyond? If the tree had not developed a strong unseen foundation, it could not have sustained its life as it grew. Remember, those who chase the quick buck are unable to sustain unearned sudden wealth. Industry comes from the Latin word industria, which means diligence, assiduity, or hard work. It is the careful or persistent effort or work undertaken. In the early Masonic guilds of stonemasons, an entered apprentice worked in the quarries and served his time under the craftsmen for many years before he could attain the degree as the fellow of the craft, who were the menachins, overseers, or supervisors. The honeybee is a universal symbol of ethical virtues such as industry, diligence, sociability, purity, cleanliness, wisdom, creativity, and many others. C.C. Zane, in his book Ancient Masonry, states that the proper beehive denotes man's physical body. The honeycomb signifies that which is interior to the physical, the astral body. The honey is symbolical of the spiritual body, which is composed of the choicest nectars and aromas of the earthly experience. Therefore, Zane states that the beehive represents the physical and spiritual nature of mankind. The beehive is a very old Masonic symbol that is still used in many countries. As with many of the symbols represented in speculative Masonry before it was incorporated into the rituals of our fraternity, bees and beehives meant different things to various cultures. In Hinduism, gods were frequently associated with bees, including Vishnu, Krishna, and Indra. These three are referred to as Madhava, the nectar-born ones, and are represented by the bee. An 18th century ritual includes the following reference to the beehive symbol. It goes, the beehive teaches us that as we are born into the world rational and intelligent beings, so ought we also to be industrious ones and not stand idly by or gaze with listless indifference on even the meanest of our fellow creatures in a state of distress, if it is in our power to help them without detriment to ourselves or our connections. The constant practice of this virtue is enjoined on all created beings, from the highest seraph in the heaven to the meanest reptile that crawls in the dust. The beehive brings to one's mind a well-organized group of insects working together for a common goal. The term generally associated with it with it is industry. Not in the modern sense of industrial machines working to manufacture multiple items, but in the more ancient sense as a group of individuals working to create something constructive or productive. To our ancient operative brothers who came from the guild of the Middle Ages, industry in the old meaning was how things were accomplished without modern heavy machinery. Individuals were assigned specific tasks based on their skill level. Some might simply be carrying stone or the other material to be more experienced brethren who would then fashion the proper piece for the structure. Others still would put their skills to planning on how the structure would be put together and what tasks the aforementioned experienced brethren would be doing to complete the structure. No one group was the mainstay for the project or structure, yet all were critical to make the project a success. In speculative masonry, you have a hive of a new kind. There is still the structure that requires workers on all levels to make the hive or lodge function and be successful. More experienced brethren in the crafts share their knowledge with the newer workers in the hive, and all the while realizing that they have their own task in the hive to do their part to make the hive function properly and to succeed with the projects at hand. There is also a leader of the hive, in the case of a Masonic lodge, the worshipful master, who reads the plans and guides the workers at all levels to a successful project. The three ruffians demonstrate that the forces of evil are always at work to influence the unsuspecting and the weak and to recruit them in the battle so that evil can triumph over good. Thus, chaos can then rule. They use powerful weapons and allurements to influence and win people to their side, and they are always present to capture anyone who might slip. The working tools they used symbolizes the virtues that they wanted to eliminate. By using the plum rule as the weapon, the ruffian aimed at destroying the values of rectitude, integrity of life, and uprightness of character, which makes a good and just man. With the level, the second ruffian wanted to destroy mutual respect, trust, and real regard for one another. A blow to the head or brain is the worst that a human being can suffer. The striking on the forehead with the heavy maul by the third ruffian symbolizes the destruction of freedom of thought and creates ignorance. Where there is ignorance, there is despotism. A few control the many. These few use the majority as pawns in their quest for power and more power. But the three fellow crafts, who raised our master, demonstrate that although the forces of evil are powerful and relentless, we can still prevail and overcome all the forces of evil through perseverances and the diligent practice of all cardinal virtues. Thus, patience and industry in every Freemason steers him through his journey of life with dedication to his fraternity and commitment and obedience to his Creator. Julius Caesar, during his glorious days, demanded the services of a charioteer for his sojourns in his empire. Many applied for the position, and finally, three were selected based on their ability to appear before Caesar, who had to make the choice. As the three knelt before Caesar, he asked them an interesting question. He asked the three men, 50 yards yonder is a deep precipice. You three being expert charioteers, how close to the precipice can you drive my chariot? One replied, Hail Caesar, Your Excellency, I can drive the chariot with you in it 12 inches from the precipice at a fast clip. The second more enthusiastically answered that he can ride 6 inches away. The third shuddered at the answers of the other two and answered meekly, Hail Caesar, Your Excellency, if I am to drive the chariot with you riding in it, I'll steer the chariot as far away as I could from that precipice in order that your life be safe. Brethren, I recollect this story from the words of our beloved brother Right Worshipper V. Rajendran, recipient of the Order of Service to Freemasonry, our past region Grand Master. For any organization or fraternity, the person who steers it must definitely possess all the important cardinal virtues with patience and industry. To every Freemason, merit alone should be the title to all privileges. I must thank Brother Ambrish Roy for his patience and forbearing in motivating me to engage on this topic. Thank you, my brother.